What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Ninja Turtle and I'm back with another custom. This time it's more of a, at least it started off as a modification and then kind of turned into a full-on custom build. And we have Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, the original Wasp, one of the founding members of the Avengers. And this Wasp figure was released a few years ago during the, I believe it was the Captain America Civil War wave, and as it came around the same time the Ant-Man movie came out, so they did this whole Wasp thing. But I had problems with that Wasp figure that they released, and I made some changes. So this is my custom version of that classic. Actually, this is more of a modern costume Wasp, but it's still like a very classic look for her. Again, I'm going to walk through this and show you from head to toe everything that I did, though not in detail, not specifically, but more of I'm going to tell you what I did, and if it's something that you want to do, you'll be able to do it by just copying what I did. I do assume that that you guys know a little bit of customizing. I'm not the one that's going to do walkthroughs of how to crack torsos or which paint to use or taking off limbs and removing pins and things of that nature. All of that stuff's out on YouTube. I've done it myself. I've looked at all of those things and I've used all of those current resources. So if I can do this based off of watching other people's YouTube, I don't need to go through and show you exactly what I did. And if you, again, if you're you already know some customizing things, maybe you can improve upon what I did and make it look, yours look better. But let's start at the feet and we'll work our way up. All right, so my custom Wasp really didn't do a whole lot to change it, but one of the things that I did to change it is I wanted to make her shorter compared to the original release of what they put out there from Hasbro. But with feet, nothing special. These feet are the exact same feet that came on the actual Hasbro Wasp. I just took them right off. Feet and legs. Now the hands and the bottom of the feet do have a particular color of yellow onto it, and it's not the same yellow that was on the release. In fact, I use this Model Masters. It is the chrome yellow on the bottom of the feet and on the actual hands. But everything else, the actual leg, that's the same leg that was on the Hasbro release of Wasp. But the thigh is something else entirely. So here's a pretty obvious difference between this is the Hasbro release and my custom. Again, I made her significantly shorter because Wasp comes in at about 5'4", 110 pounds. This body mold that Hasbro used, they use this on Medusa and Hellcat and Shuri. And of course for Wasp, they also use the same body mold for Wasp's retro, the white, black, and blue costume. Look at the difference in the legs. These are big, beefy legs. And don't get me wrong, I like these legs. They look amazing. But for someone's 110 pounds, I think this body is a little too curvy, a little too much of everything on here. And these legs actually came from Magic. Alright, so here's the Walgreens version of Magic. The legs I used were from my San Diego Comic-Con Magic. They're relatively the same. I mean, they're the same height and size and width and all that stuff. I think maybe the San Diego Comic-Con legs are a little bit more glossy, but relatively the same. So any legs that are on these teenage, what I would call teenage female bodies, the thighs, and same thing with the hip joints. Again, those are also coming from my San Diego Comic-Con Magic. That's the only thing that was painted, is that was the hips, because it was flesh tone, and I painted that black so it could, you know, be what it's supposed to be. But yeah, so this makes her a lot shorter, and you can see that they have a pretty similar height. Not exactly the same, but very similar, because they have different torsos entirely. But as far as the legs go, yeah, they're on the same level. They're the same legs. These boots are, you know, obviously different than these legs, but the thighs and the hips came from Magic. All right, as far as the rest of the body goes, The arms, again, they came directly from the actual Hasbro Magic. They're the exact same arms, the exact same hands with the same color paint, the chrome yellow Model Masters for the hands. As far as the torso goes, this torso is actually from Shikla. Now, I don't have any Shiklas on hand, or I would just put one of those in camera to show you. That's the recently released female character from the Deadpool wave that just came out like right now. But if you don't have access to Shikla, that's okay. You don't have to use Shikla. You can absolutely use a Lady Deadpool, which is what this is, if it wasn't so close to the camera. But yeah, Lady Deadpool is the exact same body, and it's by far way more accessible and cheaper to buy a Lady Deadpool body than to buy a Shikla right now. Maybe that'll change in the future, but in general, it's the exact same body if you're looking for this kind of torso. Now, in general, that body's still a little larger. You could use, say, like an X23 if you wanted to have her be even smaller. Again, she's 110 pounds, 5'4". She's not the biggest, but she's not the smallest either. That's pretty much a fairly average size woman by today's standards. Maybe it's a little below because 5'4" is somewhat short. Most of the Marvel Legend characters, most of the Marvel female characters are gonna average between like 5'7" and 6 feet tall. So she needs to stand a lot shorter than most other female characters. So again, if you really wanted to make your custom to be even a little bit shorter, there are ways around it. But I picked this Lady Deadpool Shikla body for several reasons. One, I just like the body. Two, because of the armor plating. So again, you could do the say like a X23 body and still have the same results for the most part, but she would just be a little bit thinner and a little bit shorter. But for me, it was really more about the plates, and particularly on the breasts. I'm just not gonna beat around the bush, but I had to hand sculpt all of that stuff with epoxy sculpt. This is not just painted on like the Hasbro version is. You can see a very, very big difference between what Hasbro did and what I did, and comparing that to the actual art that multiple artists have drawn for this costume. And obviously Hasbro has to nerf their designs a little bit because it's made for kids, and I get that. So it's still plenty sexy. They actually went too far. Again, they gave her this big curvy body, but as far as the armor goes, it's just painted on. I don't like that, so that's why we went with this design. Everything else, again, it's just painted black, and then the head and the face makeup, all of that stuff is the exact same. But obviously on this body we have these peg holes in the back that are for the wings. Shikla doesn't fly, neither does Lady Deadpool. So there aren't any ports on the back of those body molds, or X23 for that matter, to put these wings in. So how did I get that on there if I'm using Shikla? Well, actually, one of the things that I did, which I don't have her readily available at the moment, but these ports came from a beetle, a female beetle body. So one of the stunning revelations, because female beetle is not a character that I cared about whatsoever, and I sold that figure many years ago, but it's on clearance, or it has been on clearance. A lot of the older Marvel Legends been on clearance at Target, and then a lot of the older ones are just on sale or low priced everywhere. But since I saw it at the Target, I was like, yeah, maybe I can use this. And I was going to originally use the female beetle body to make this Wasp, the torso and everything. But I decided against that last minute for several reasons, which I won't reveal right now. I'll save that for one of my future customs and why I'm using a female beetle on that body. But I ended up cutting off the ports on the female beetle's back and gluing them on, just using a X-Acto knife, heating it up a little bit, making it soft, cut it straight through, and then gluing it onto the Shikla back, trying to make sure it's level and even and all of that. and then once it dried, sanded, you know, and painted black. So it looks like it's naturally part of the back, just like this one is. And now that's it. It wasn't like a perfect cut. It was pretty deep. It wasn't, you know, because the back isn't flat. It has, you know, back muscles and things like that. So when I cut it, it just wasn't 100% perfect. But it didn't need to be. So it's just not perfectly flush is basically what I'm saying. And the ports on the wings, they go in there far enough so they stick and they're firm, but they don't go in there all the way. Not quite, but good enough that they work. I can still flutter the wings if I want to, pose them as I need to. They do slide down just a little bit sometimes, just based off of gravity. But other than that, everything works the way it's intended to work. And she's much slimmer, and I love seeing these legs on this Wasp. I love seeing it. It's actually probably to date of the customs that I've made, this is probably my second favorite custom, if not my favorite custom. Sure, I didn't do a whole lot, but at the same time I did enough to significantly change her from this to that. This is more appropriate. Alright, now for a pretty good height comparison, we have my custom Wasp to the left and the Shuri on the right, the female Black Panther. And once again, the Shuri is using the exact same body mold, the Hellcat body mold, Medusa, Shuri, all of them have the same body mold as the original Hasbro Wasp here, the exact same. So this is what she would be looking like if she was still on her same body mold. She would be this tall. And now you can see the height difference and how much shorter she is now. Okay, and one more height comparison. We have my custom Wasp right next to a Dazzler figure that's pretty much using a fairly average size body mold. So she's pretty like an average height and weight for most Marvel heroes within the Hasbro Marvel Legend line. And again, a significant height difference between the two. She should be smaller than most of the female heroes. Well, alright, that's about it. It's not that complicated of a custom, but at the same time I did do some custom work. There were some blemishes. I think I just missed some black paint here on that chest piece. And the armor, honestly, the body armor, real quick, I really wanted that to be as metal looking, chrome looking as possible. I just couldn't quite get that color. It is actually originally, when I first painted that, the chest armor and the stomach torso armor, it was a much lighter color. In fact, it looked very much like the yellow color that they used on the Toy Biz version of this exact same Wasp. But when I was looking at it, I realized that, and I went for a darker color, and it ended up, this color is the chrome yellow mixed in with gold of Model Masters. So it's just I think it's a little bit like a 3 parts chrome yellow and 2 parts gold, something like that. So it does have some metallic sheen to it, but it's just not it's not pure gold, because I think the Model Master gold is just too dark and would not have been as appealing. I'm still very much experimenting with that gold paint and figuring out how to best apply it, because I do want to use it, but it's just too dark. It's not the kind of gold that I want. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward. If you guys have questions, if you have any sorts of ways that you think that this could have been improved, or things that you need help on, let me know in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to help you guys out the best I can. I know this isn't a perfect sculpt, because I'm very much a rookie. I look at the armor and say, oh, it's not as perfect as I wanted to, but at the same time, this looks a lot better than it did as actual armor. By the way, there is no paint rub on the legs, because none of that, all of that is black plastic, so there's no paint there. The hips are the only thing that were painted, and honestly, you can see some of the gap in there. So there's really no paint rub anywhere in there. Again, this was a Shikla body, so this was purple torso and a black top, or a pink top. So all of that was painted, and then the armor is painted, but there's no paint rub all on the inside there at all. And I think there might be a little bit of rub coming off on the armpit over there, but other than that, everything is totally fine. The head does have some pink in there, if you can kind of see that in there. That's from the Shikla. I didn't paint that part because I don't paint those typically. I mean, you probably didn't see it at all before, but you might see it now because I pointed it out. But on display, it's not something I ever noticed, or anyone would notice. Anyway, make sure you hit me up on my second YouTube channel, which is all about gaming. Hit me up on Discord, with the link for that is below in the description, where I post pictures of progress of all of the things that I'm working on, all of the figures that I'm working on. And I will see you guys very soon with my next custom. Peace.